to DP and McGee, the podcast that takes an often irreverent, sometimes cynical, and occasionally even a serious look at the business of sports. I'm your co-host, 𝘚𝘵𝗽𝘳𝘐.
And I'm Tim McGee.
Well, we've emerged, Tim, from a rather unruly Ryder Cup. MLB playoffs are underway.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's so unruly.
And
I love using that word.
And the winner of the understatement of the year.
Playoffs are on in Major League Baseball. The puck drops on the NHL season next week, and the WNBA Finals open on Friday. But we have something special for you today, and that is our second not-so-annual look at the state of the business of sports as an academic discipline. Now, more on that later in the show. But, Tim, throwing it over to you right away, what's on your mind?
Well, let's talk about Ryder Cup. Unruly, I think, is an understatement. I was frankly mortified by the American fans' behavior over the course of the weekend. It went well beyond sort of what has happened in the past at other Ryder Cups in terms of, riding the other team, no pun intended. There was an MC who was hired by the PGA of America who started the 𝘵𝗵𝗽𝘪𝘰𝘯 chant. I mean, that's just that falls squarely in the lap of the PGA of America. Mm-hmm. She apologized, she quit or stepped down before the last day, but that was just symbolic of the entire weekend, and I think that the European team comported themselves as well as they possibly could have been expected to. It made it very difficult, quite honestly, for me. It made it very difficult to root for Team USA. It was not good.
It made it difficult to watch in a way as well. I mean, golf has this reputation that it's the gentleman's sport and all that. And the reality is that this competition is hyped. And it's been getting pretty intense. Certainly the players take it seriously. There's a lot of, chest pounding and kind of in your face type of stuff. And it's not that the Euros don't do that. I mean, Rory will give it back when he feels necessary. Certainly Shane Lowry does. But this definitely seemed to cross the decorum. And what Rory constantly was saying was that we don't care what they say in between shots. It's when you're standing over the ball. And that's just a golf thing. So I don't know exactly where the blame lies other than the PGA of America particularly needs to look at this from their side, at least next time when it's hosted in the United States, and what they're going to do about it. I've had so many people write me. I mean, I actually have this time. I'm not just saying that. About, whether it was the pricing or what are they doing? Why are they trying to squeeze so many people in? What are they doing to set the brand for Ryder Cup? And where does that start? And that the thing that you mentioned about the DJ, which was just so unbelievable, was that it's almost like, performers feed off the audience, right? Just like audience feeds off the performer. I'm not saying this DJ classifies as that, but let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Is that it was like a mob mentality. That's what it felt like. Now, it may have only been a few really, really, really ridiculously bad apples, but it seems like the American side of this is way off. And it wasn't, they were happy with the numbers. They made a lot of money, but that became the story where it just seemed like it was this massive money grab and this completely out of control situation out there at Bethpage.
Well, yeah, so much to unpack, and we could probably spend an entire episode talking about this if we choose to. So let me unpack a couple things here. Number one,
do it. Unpack away.
We talked about the price to get in with Jeff Price, $750 per day. It got you free food and non-alcoholic beverage. So these were not bleacher bums. These were not people paying $5 on StubHub to get in. These were people who had the means to spend a minimum of $750 to get in, and yet they still comported themselves that way. I can say this because I grew up on Long Island. I heard a great line. Somebody said the Ryder Cup reminded people that Long Island is just Alabama North. Which
now it would have been helpful if you were also spent some time in Alabama, but
I have. I didn't live there, but That's one thing. Number two, and let me preface this by saying I don't have any issue with the American players being paid. I just got the sense that the Europeans take more pride in this competition. And maybe it's because the Americans also play in the President's Cup, and most of the players on the European team play on the tour or in live here in the States. I don't know. I just get the sense that it means more to the Europeans. And
that has been the case for a while, Tim. That's right. We've had that argument for a while. They seem to be better at the match play in the various different competitions that lead, of course, to the singles competition on final day Sunday. But the other piece of it is they seem to like each other a lot more. One of the big moments was the Bryson DeChambeau, and it was actually Scheffler's caddy that was somewhat in the line of Justin Rose as he was lining up a putt. Justin Rose was a little dismissive, like get the hell out of the way type of thing. And then after he sinks the putt, DeChambeau sinks a putt, I think to have the hole. And then DeChambeau gets in the face of Rose and Fleetwood. Now, DeChambeau was Captain America, right? Now he's the guy, he's the rah, pump it up, in your face, let's go. He hits like a 5,000-yard drive on the first tee and tries to he's like the new Bubba Watson that way. And he's completely bought into this. Now, he had an unbelievable comeback to take a half a point because he was getting his ass handed to him early on by the very quiet Matt Fitzpatrick, which I thought was kind of an interesting metaphor for the entire thing. But he ended up coming back. He gutted it out and took a half point. So, and he closed by saying, "I just love America. That's why I did it." So it was okay. That's kind of cool. Scheffler, in that moment that Bryson and Scheffler's caddy got in the face of Fleetwood and Rose, stood back and was like, "I don't want anything to do with this." My first reaction was, Scotty's got to jump in and be the leader. He's the number one player in the world. He's got to take a position here. I think Scheffler hates this stuff so much it's ridiculous. He didn't want any part of any of it. It's not that he's not a competitor. He's the best golfer in the world. He was horrible this past weekend. But it definitely needs something. A lot can be pinned. I've had people that listen to the show that are like, you got to have Jeff come back on. I'm being honest here, Tim, saying you got to have Jeff come back on and defend the position of that pricing. With their view being, when you pay that much for a ticket, you're licensed to do whatever the hell you want. Now, I'm not sure that's right. I tend to agree with your point that it's like, this isn't your normal, like bleacher crowd.
I don't subscribe to that theory that when you pay a ticket, it gives you license to be an asshole. There's nothing that gives you a license to be an asshole. You can boo, you can cheer, you can scream at the top of your lungs between holes, between shots. But to your point, there is decorum in the sport of golf that needs to be followed. Now, there are people who try to say, well, how come, tell a football crowd to be quiet or tell a baseball crowd to be. It's different.
It is different.
It's different. It's an individual sport where concentration is absolutely critical. And I just don't buy it yet. Neither DeChambeau nor Scheffler had a great weekend, but poor 𝘚𝘱𝘵𝘗𝑵, oh my goodness, he had a half point.
The star of the American team, of course, was Wake Forest's own Cam Young. I mean, he kind of went about business, did his job, secured a big point that almost got the U.S. going back in because he went out first.
Listen, the U.S. team did not give up. They had a great comeback on Sunday, but it is a 3-day tournament, and match play just was not, they were not well suited for match play. Well, you can say whether that was Keegan Bradley or I question how much influence a coach, a captain has. Yes, he sets the lineups. Yes, he decides who sits and things like that.
Well, there's a book by a very good sports business podcaster actually named Richard Gillis called The Captain Myth. I think, Tim, the key is we need to write a book. I think that's the key. Anyway.
Well, hold on.
Maybe you have.
No, I haven't. But I believe that before you write a book, you have to have read a book. So,
okay. Yeah, right.
So, Yeah,
So,
I've read
but
16 books this year. Anyway,
the idea is that it's a myth. The whole captain thing, pointing the fingers at. I don't think Keegan comported himself particularly well throughout the entire weekend, including when there were issues popping up. I think some of the players should have come out. I think the PGA of America never took any sort of accountability at all during the whole thing.
There were some American players who would put their hands up asking for quiet when a European player was approaching a shot or addressing the ball. And so I don't blame the American players. And what happened, with 𝘚𝘱𝘵𝘵𝘊𝘵 and Scheffler and the caddy, to me, that was a bit of gamesmanship. They did shake hands after the round. And to me, that's well within the bounds of this competition. But what the crowd did was not.
Well, let's look at it from a number standpoint. I don't think it had much to do with the issues with the rowdiness, but the very uphill climb that the American team had going into Sunday certainly hurt those numbers. While television viewership was way up in the UK, not surprisingly, the U.S. audience suffered quite a bit.
People who chose not to tune in on Sunday miss some great golf.
Peak of 5.3, average of 3.22, and that was between 5 and 5:15 later when I think people were kind of jumping in. And this is a big data number. So this is one of the worst in a long time with the big data pumped onto it. So I think you have to go back a while if you had removed that, which added several 100,000 more to the viewership number of what it might have been in the older system. So it wasn't good from that standpoint, but that was driven by the giant lead that the Euros had built heading into Sunday.
Yeah, and then 2 years from now it goes to Adair Manor in Limerick. Or Adair in County Limerick, I should say. So
there you go. We need to record there. We do have a President's Cup in the U.S. next year. We're going to have to get 𝘚𝘱𝘰𝘵𝘏𝑗 on, who's running that now. Mm-hmm. I think that should be a road trip event. Go to the President's Cup. We should record out there. I'm going to start working on that one.
Well, I think now that the event is over, we can admit to our audience that we were pushing hard to get an invitation from.
Well, like I said, I had a wedding. My nephew Zach got married. I couldn't have made it. So, I mean, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I do want to say before we go off of this onto our next topic, two things. Number one, you got to give PGA credit for the way they handled the president's appearance on Friday. It did not, as far as I know, disrupt people, despite the fact that they went through all of the security measures that one does go through when a president is on site. So kudos to the PGA for that. I also want to give credit because the European team, for lack of a better term, trolled President Trump after their victory. And he came back with, I thought, a great comeback. Congratulations. That's all he said. It
was one of the most muted Donald Trump things ever, and I think that was well advised because I think the European team was doing it mostly. I mean, they all know him. I mean, the guy is such a golf geek. Right. He knows all the players. He probably loves them all. And I think some of them may not, approve of his politics, but who knows? That's not the point. I think they were having fun with the president being out there, and it was agree. I think that was one of the wow, that's not a crazy response.
Yeah, to the victors go the spoils, and he did not add fuel to the fire, right. So good for him.
Ryder Cup is an amazing event. We were very happy and fortunate to have somebody from both sides of the pond on this, so to speak, the PGA of America and DP World Tour speak to us about this. But there were definitely some issues, I think, that need to be discussed as to what this competition has become, or I think players are going to start wondering about competing in it, and we'll see, when it plays in Ireland next. So let's move on. Big announcement, Tim, this just a few days ago about who was going to perform at the Super Bowl halftime, and there had been rumors of Adele. There, of course, had been rumors of Taylor Swift, because of her intricate involvement with the NFL and its most popular team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and one Travis Kelce. But it is, I mean, I get so despondent over any decision, no matter what, that there is instantly sides to take on it. And I don't have an opinion one way or the other. And the announcement is that Bad Bunny is going to be the lead performer. Bad Bunny is a massively popular international star, Puerto Rican born, was one of the highlights, in my opinion, of Happy Gilmore 2. So I don't know how anyone could think Bad Bunny isn't a fun, entertaining personality. But some of the stuff that came out from, sports luminaries like Danica Patrick.
Oh my God.
About like no songs are in English, or most songs aren't in English. People can't, and it's like that's the point.
Go sell a car warranty, Danica.
So I know you have some thoughts on this and kind of a philosophy, but this is about building brands, and I would say, compared to last year's artist, Kendrick Lamar, who I could understand because he's so socially active and politically active in a way in his lyrics and his songs, the things he chooses to say with his art. I'm not saying Bad Bunny isn't, but Bad Bunny is a probably more of a general appeal star, I think, than even Kendrick Lamar. So the fact that I think if Taylor Swift had been announced,
there would
the
have been
most
people...
popular star on the planet, somebody would have lost their mind.
Yes, the difference instead of sexist undertones there with Bad Bunny, there are racist undertones. So let's look at this. First of all, anybody who says, I don't know who Bad Bunny is and thinks that's a burn on Bad Bunny is living under a rock, okay? Because his songs have been downloaded from Spotify over 1 billion times, number one. Number two, he's going to sing in Spanish. Oh my gosh, how horrible. Okay, let's look at the stakeholders here. Bad Bunny, huge star. Every artist who performs at the Super Bowl halftime show sees a big bump in streams and downloads of their music or sales, however you want to measure it. Number two, the NFL is again we've joked that they're not going to be content until every person in the world is an NFL fan. Well, this is an opportunity for them to grow their audience to a Hispanic or a Latinx, whatever you want to call it. And number three, let's look at the sponsor, Apple, which just came out with new earbuds that can translate into your native language. So, Bad Bunny sings a lot of his songs in Spanish. Guess what? They're probably going to be pushing those earbuds. So if you are a Bad Bunny fan, but you don't understand what he's singing, buy those earbuds, update your operating system, and you can listen on your earbuds and hear in the real time what he's singing in English. But Danica Patrick, he almost threatening him, he better not sing in Spanish. Stop the nonsense.
I saw that former Braves pitcher John Rocker weighed in on this too.
Yeah, what a shocker. He had a racist take. But I think, there are people, to your point, there are people who are going to take sides. And I had a post on this on LinkedIn. For those of you who didn't see it, my take was basically this. Most of us are not the target audience for Bad Bunny if above a certain age. And so if you don't like the artist selection, take the 20 minutes and go to the buffet table, use the restroom, go look at puppy ball, whatever it is. The NFL does not care. They do not care.
The NFL does care about its audience overall, but I think our demographic has proven year after year, scandal after scandal, big controversy after big controversy, that we don't care and we continue to watch. The numbers just bear that out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I almost walked away from the Super Bowl halftime show when a radical splinter group of Up With people somehow made its way onto the field and performed.
So woke, man.
But there are people like
it would be. Could you imagine? No, you're right. If Up With people came out right now, there would be so much hate toward them.
Yeah, it's just it's
And young people are important to growing audiences. It's simple as that. Every brand goes through that. How are we doing it? But there are so many platforms for people to share their voice, including voices that spew a lot of stuff that both is a little ridiculous and maybe somewhat hateful.
Listen, I've been to Super Bowls. I've seen the artists live. I watch every year. Not necessarily because I'm a fan of the artist or familiar with the artist's work, but it exposes me to new music.
Yeah.
I try to look at it through eyes of those people who are fans of that particular audience. I'm looking forward to having my class tomorrow night, where I have a bunch of late teens, early 20s students, and get their take on it. The fact of the matter is, the days of Springsteen, the Stones, Aerosmith, even Coldplay, U2. I mean, U2
not growing audience at all.
No, and I'm not sure if Adele would have grown an audience, and her music doesn't necessarily, it doesn't.
Listen, it's to get people tuned in and talking and engaging with it. And these new artists, such as Bad Bunny, have not. And it's not only how many times their music is streamed; it's what their engagement is socially. And so I think the NFL is probably laughing at any of these comments, because he actually has pretty mainstream appeal.
First Hispanic artist to star in a Marvel movie.
All right.
But let's keep in mind, before we break, just real quick, the one thing I do want to say is, a lot of the criticism coming from the right is the fact that he refused to perform in the United States on his most recent tour. He did a 30-day residency in Puerto Rico, sold out every night, and obviously Puerto Rico is part of the United States. But he would not come to the continental United States because he was fearful that his audience, which is, predominantly Hispanic, would have been targeted by ICE and so he was actually looking out for his audience. But people turn that around and say he's anti-American, he's not patriotic, he doesn't love America, he's not even American. The fact of the matter is, his concern was real.
I agree with that, but that's not the worst of it when it comes to bad takes. Let's put it that way. It's like, okay, listen, I wish he would try to make the change then within and perform to his audience. I kind of get that argument in a weird way. So I think that's the least of the ridiculous arguments against it. Not the least, maybe, but certainly a lesser one. Before we do break and bring our guests on, because we just started the wild card games. Cubs are up. Sorry about the Yankees loss last night. That was a tough one too. I mean, that's just brutal that they're, Yankees opening up with the Red Sox in that way. Dodgers just look unbelievable. But the reason I brought that up is because I just wanted to talk. I mean, all these not giant but small great successes that Rob Manfred and MLB seem to be having, and this was a huge year attendance-wise. Dodgers surpassing 4 million in attendance. Padres setting a record franchise. The Mets, of course, had unbelievable attendance despite their complete collapse at the end. Third consecutive season, the league has surpassed the 70 million milestone in total attendance. Teams like the Reds and the Tigers and the Phillies with best attendance in a long time. So just overall a very good year. And I think the league also feels pretty good about where they are from a television standpoint.
Oh, the ratings were up 20% up on ESPN, 29% on TNT. Fox was sort of the laggard, up 9%, which I think any network would be happy to have a 9% year-over-year increase in their audience. MLB Network up 13%. Yeah, so I think all is calm on the surface at MLB, but there continues to be sort of undercurrents roiling around labor. So, but let's enjoy it while we can, notwithstanding the Yankees' performance last night, particularly the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing out of that is coming out of that series is going to be either the Red Sox or the Yankees. So two big draws. I'm hard pressed to think that anyone could stop the Dodgers before the World Series.
I don't know.
I'd like to think the Cubs can. I also don't want to get ahead. The Cubs are up, 1-0 in these brief wild card series, and
listen,
if you're up against the Padres before,
don't punch your ticket
Uh,
if you're a fan of a team that's up 1-0,
No,
number one.
of course not.
But there's a reason the Dodgers are playing in this round of the playoffs and don't have a bye. There are some other good teams.
Yeah.
I mean, Phillies
No,
are very
no
very
doubt.
good team.
Now let's jump to a break. We have an exciting group of guests for you.
It's time for our guest.
All right, we are back and have a very special treat today. We're joined by three individuals, friends all, that have moved into the academic side of the sports business, prepping the next generation of sports business leaders. Andy Clark is the director of sports business programs at DePaul University, a program he began building after his own successful career in sports marketing with stints at Edelman and 𝘚𝘵𝘵𝘁𝗵𝘃. He and I first met a million years ago when we were both young staffers in DePaul University's athletic department. Mary Scott is the Senior Associate Director of Career Services at Columbia University's Sports Management Program. Mary also spent time on the comm side of sports with senior leadership positions at UEG and Edelman. She began her career in the sports business at the NFL. And after a long and storied career in sports marketing and media, Keith Cutler joined the faculty at Montclair State, where he is teaching across advertising, sponsorship, and multimedia. Keith began his career at USA Today, where he led sports marketing, and from there held leadership roles with Turner Sports, the 𝘚𝘵𝘰𝘵𝘚𝗵𝗽, among others. He and I, of course, met it back in the day when he was at USA Today. So Andy, Mary, and Keith, we're delighted to welcome you to Wait What.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. We have three guests, so we're going to have to ask a few questions that cross you all, and we'll decide how we break that up in terms of order. But where we wanted to start is when it comes to the education side, where does formal sports marketing, sport management, business of sports education fit in the industry, and particularly how have you seen it evolve in the time you've either been involved with it or when you first became aware that there was kind of this track? So we'll start with Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to be short since there's a lot here, but you're going to hear me use the word probably experiences like 10 times when we talk today, and that's what that's what I think the role is experience, right? I heard your podcast with Tom Fox, who spoke in class a number of times, and he's awesome and great at connecting to people and stuff. And he said, you don't really need go get a job somewhere else and come back. But I think what we help them do, right? And I don't disagree with that, right? But is help them do is connect and make experiences, right? And the more valuable you are to them is going to help you in the short term, the long run. How it's evolved and changed, I think there's more opportunities, right? I think across more diverse. You always heard like sales, get in with sales, which is still there, right, front and center. But with AI and analytics and events, I think there's a lot more, and people are looking at stuff across the board more. But I also think it evolved, changed the interview process, even for like internships, has become, I think, exhausting. I mean, when I talk to students and what they've gone through to get an internship or a short-term gig or low-paid gig, it's like they're interviewing for an EVP position.
Mary?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that there's no more entry-level jobs. They might say they're entry-level, but even entry-level, they want 2 to 3, sometimes 3+ years experience. And that, goes down to your point, Andy, even on the internship level. And so, I think that drives back to, why is a master's or, undergraduate degree important? Because I think that it gives students this breadth and depth of not just knowledge, but also experience. And I think that's necessary, whether it's in-class experience or, what that gives them so they can go out and land these internships that are so competitive. I think it's really critical. And I mean, I've been in now higher ed for 4 years, so I'm on the, not as much as my peers here, but I've seen it change dramatically, right? In terms of even the types of classes that are being offered now, right? Because the industry is changing so quickly, I think the classes have changed too. So where, maybe when I was back in school or maybe not that long ago, but, say even, 5-10 years ago, I think, the classes were one thing, and now they have, changed so much because I think programs are trying to stay ahead of what's in the marketplace and where are the jobs. So things like AI and BI and, other types of classes like that, I don't think they existed. So I think it's a wonderful place right now for students who are interested in pursuing or pivoting or entering or accelerating, their roles in the industry to take advantage of, what these programs have to offer.
I approach it like a client in a way. I have a room full of clients, and they're all different, but they're different than Mary's clients and Andy's clients. They are. Just a fact. So I kind of evaluate what their needs are and what their interests are. Clearly, I'm supposed to teach sports sponsorship, so my main focus is that this is a business. This is how everybody in this room, if you want sports in your title, will get paid. So whether you're a cameraman pulling cable, on air, a writer, or selling, and I hope we have lots of them in there, this is how you get paid. So I think if we start them young to understand that, because, in my intro, you said I worked for USA Today, I worked for Turner, I've worked with a lot of pretty high-level content creators. And on the editorial side, I've had my fair share of wrestling matches with those content creators that we're all making paychecks here. And I'm just here to help you get a raise if I'm selling a sponsorship. So you want them as partners. So no matter what they're doing, I want them to understand that they are partners with the person next to them, whether they're the HR person, the accounting person, finance, the on-air person, the guy pulling the cable, or the gal running the lights, or the hotshot selling sponsorship. So I think evaluating theirs, and then, to amplify what Mary and Andy said, I think it's also, we have an advantage to give them connections. We worked in the business, and I feel that's what I can deliver. I can deliver some connections to maybe give them a half a step so they don't have to go that painful interview process. Show up on time, look clean, smile, and stay 5 minutes later, and you got the job. What are we asking for these people, right? So that's kind of the message I give.
So this question again is for all three of you, and we'll start with you, Keith. What's the aim of and you touched upon it now, but what is the aim of your program at Montclair, or the classes that you've taught, and what do you hope for your students? At the end of the day, everybody wants to get a job in sports, right? But more specifically, what are you hoping your students get out of it?
At Montclair State, again, it's different than Columbia and DePaul. I know it is, and it's different than the other programs. I know the folks who run the other programs. We have a really strong, it's sports communications is the major. And what the advantage we have is being a Division III school, those wanting a career on the production, broadcast, whether they're on the audio or the video side, they learn on state-of-the-art equipment. They get to do the football games, the volleyball games, the basketball games, all of them. And they're working their butts off doing it. And they're really, really good. And that's a huge advantage. There's nothing that they haven't done or seen as far as using the equipment that if they get that job at CBS or wherever, they know how to work it, because we have the same equipment and we have the same folks coming in, seeing it and doing it. On the business side, we're not really, I'm not telling anyone anything anyone doesn't know. We're not really strong on the business side. So that's where I think, from my perspective, I want to evaluate what their business interests and business knowledge is. And if I can pull a couple people, interested on the sales side or on the marketing side or on the, that side. So our program is different. Like I said, if you're really on the production side, you're going to do great. You have all the skills. You're going to learn all the skills. From the business side, that's where I need to step in and maybe provide some connections and identify the few diamonds in the rough where I could mentor and coach them and possibly get them somewhere in the middle to near the top of the, head of the line to at least get that interview.
Yeah. Mary, I'm really interested to hear your perspective, because unlike Andy and Keith, you're not teaching classes on a regular basis. So hand it over to you.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think that I look at the experience in a program like ours as a journey. And I talk to the students about, this is your journey, right? This is your journey to discover what it is that you like. This is your journey to learn about something new. This is your journey to, see the different jobs that are out there that you didn't know about. I mean, how many of us have had conversations with students on the undergraduate and graduate level, and when you ask them what they want to do, they want to be a GM of the NBA. Wow. So I tell them that's an amazing thing to put on your vision board. Now let's get real, right? So I think that it opens up to just different pathways that they haven't considered, or, they're all super smart and super passionate about sports, but to be passionate about the sport business, the business of sport, and to understand that there are so many ways that you can now get into the world of sports adjacency, directly in sports. It's not just leagues or you're done. And so I look at it as just this, this is quick. Our program is a year and a half, right? You can extend it. You could do part-time. 2 years is the most, I think I've seen full-time. That goes by so quick, right? You're taking classes, you're learning, you're networking, you're trying to get work. It goes by quick. So my advice to students is always just like, soak it all up, be on this journey of discover, open yourself up to things, be present in class and in other opportunities that you find yourself in. And just, the joy for me, I've been here 1 year now, is to have seen that journey take place and seen just how much more in touch with kind of themselves, if you will, and what they want and what they don't want, just as important, and setting themselves up for, kind of where they go after here is what I see the value of this program is.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, to start out, this is all great stuff. What we talk about, I say the first day of class every quarter, right? And if you're in our program, you're in the sports industry, right? No one may be paying you yet, but you need to think of yourself as like, I'm in this industry. And the things we do in classes, the projects we do, the people we meet. We're doing projects this quarter with the Chicago Marathon, with Gatorade and Paragon Marketing. So you're working with real folks and presenting to real folks. And the core of our program, we are in the business school. We are the sports business program. Not to give short thrift, we also have a sports communication and a sports journalism program. But we talk about 3 key tenets when we talk about our program. One, which kind of obviously learn what the industry's about and what's going on there, right? 2, what are the careers, right? The different things, you're right. Everybody wants to be a GM or an agent, right? Everybody wants to be cutting deals and be on the phone, be an agent. What are the careers and how do you get to them, right? And then lastly, and to your way around this, all our students, I'm proud that we're up to almost 160 students in our program. They're not all going to work in sports, right? And some might not work in sports right away. Some might come back to it. Everybody's careers, they may do it. I don't want to do this sales thing. I got a better opportunity. So I want to make sure that what I'm proud of, many times most proud of, is when I hear from a student that doesn't work in sports, that tells us how much they got out of our program, what they learned. Because what they're learning about is business. It's about communication. It is sports, but they're learning about business. They don't want to take this stuff. What's this degree I got? Now I'm doing something else that's irrelevant. No, this is a degree that's going to help you in anything. It's focused on sports, which is an interest.
Thanks for that, Andy. We're going to start with you, and we have a question for each of you. And I've been fortunate to speak at some of your classes and have enjoyed those opportunities, Andy. But I also know that you've created a couple pretty ambitious programs. One, your behind the scenes with Chicago Sports program, and your annual Business of International Sports in London that you do. You touched on this a little bit in with the first question about experience, but talk to me about what those specific programs mean to your students and to what you're trying to build in the program.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 courses are really a microcosm of what our program stands for, right? Our behind the scenes with Chicago sports organizations, which I'm proud of. We're doing it for our 12th year in our December term. Most schools have a January term, we're in quarters. So we have a December term, but it's a week-long class, all day, every day. You're all in, where we visit Chicago sports organizations, right? We visit all the teams. We've gone to, we'll go to Gatorade this year. We'll go to Wilson. We've gone to McDonald's. We'll go to different agencies like Paragon and Revolution and Intersports. So really learning about the industry, not just about speakers coming to class, but out visiting where they are and seeing how they operate, and usually hear from a wide range of folks. We've heard from, Tom Ricketts and Danny Wirtz, but oftentimes the students get the most out of a panel of younger folks, right, that are in analytics and marketing things that they can, better connect with. Thanks to everybody in that context. So that's really been a big thing for us, right? Especially in Chicago, we can do that, right? We don't have to people say, do you get a bus? No, we take the L, we get there, we show up, nothing's more than a couple miles from our campus. So that's been a big thing for us. And it's also been a great showcase for our program, that, we're bringing students, and knock on wood, we brought good ones, where the people we meet say, hey, we really like your students. They showed up on time, they're dressed right, they ask great questions, and that's a good commercial for our program. And a lot of the reason that people know about us is from that. And so in a short way, I kind of said, I like doing this. We have a very strong study abroad program at DePaul. We have short-term programs. We do a short-term program over spring break, 10 days, where we go to London. And I kind of pattern it. We kind of do the same thing, except it's kind of very cool. We're in London. So it's the business of international sports in London. And I always thought, for me, that was a great place to go. I kind of speak the language. It's relatively close. And there's great stuff there, right? We've made great connections, at the Premier League, the NBA office there, Wimbledon. We hear from the former CFO from the London 2012 games, who was always amazing. We work with the college there, loughborough University, and we do a hackathon with the West Ham Foundation. We visit the Premier League itself when we go to games, right, last year. And it's kind of interesting. I'll end on this. It's interesting, I think last 2 years ago, we went to Wembley for a national team game. We went to Stamford Bridge for a Chelsea game. We went to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for a Premiership rugby match. You know what? The students across the board, their favorite experience was going to QPR, right? For going downstream a little bit, getting a real experience. Game ended they pulled out in stoppage time against low teams and really got a real feel for it. Not those all grades. So different experiences, different feel, and come back and connect.
Yep. Mary, this question's for you. We alluded to it earlier that you're not in the classroom, but you head up career services at Columbia. Give us an overview of how you help a student on their journey, oftentimes from business to the classroom and then back into the business world.
Sure. And I am teaching one class, but I'm not like.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Listen.
That's okay.
One class is a lot of work. Trust me. I think we all know.
It was part of my discussion with Scott Rosner, who leads the program here, that I want to be in the classroom because I love it, and also I think you get to know the students in a different way as well. But I would say that my work is complementary to what the academic program is here. So very much like Andy and his program, most of our professors are adjunct and are working in the industry, right? So they are bringing the industry into the classroom, whether it's through their lessons, through their guest speakers, through their projects. I just heard one of our classes is doing this incredible project with the New York Mets right now, just as an assignment. So I think there's that. We also have an incredible spring break trip. We go to Spain and do some great things. And, they also have credit classes for a supervised research project. Like, just for instance, we're doing an economic study on the Ryder Cup. That's going to be interesting, right? And also work with some other organizations like PWHL, Bayern Munich, et cetera. So, that's just the academic side, which to me is so complementary to what I do on career services, because that is all we are here to open their eyes and their minds to, again, what they are interested in, what they have or build skill sets to that ultimately transfer. So what I love about this program is it's not a big distance between classroom and the industry. And I think that's the right step. Where I come in is I sort of run the gamut of everything from, okay, how are you going to talk about yourself? What is your brand narrative? What is give me the 30 to 60 seconds on who you are. That age old tell me about yourself, which we could probably all get stuck on, right? To answer that under 60 seconds. So I work with them from that vantage point, and that bleeds into everything from your resume to your LinkedIn or however you're going to talk about yourself, a networking event. And then I help them all the way to navigating them to be ready for internships and jobs. So everything from networking, how do you network so that you're not the stalker on LinkedIn? How do you do that? It's hard for people, right? These are smart kids coming to our program. And sometimes that's just not inherent, right? So I help them in that regard. And then as we talked about at the top of the call, of this conversation, is like, internships, like, hi guys, it is October and summer internships are being announced right now. Like, what the heck, right? You've got to think about something that's 8 months away and highly competitive. So helping them to navigate that and to be patient, to be persistent, and put themselves in the best position to land something. And then ultimately for those who graduate, turn that into a full-time job. So it runs the gamut, and I teach, we have about 160 students as well, and I have 160 people, and they're all different, and they all have their own story and their own journeys. And so, it's, I love it, but, I'm not going to sleep at night until I know that I've helped every one of them in some form of success, whatever that success looks like. So that's my day to day. And then in the spring, I teach on top of that. So when summer comes, I'm going to enjoy some downtime and some golf.
And what are you teaching, Mary?
I'm teaching leadership, sports leadership and ethics.
Wow.
Yeah, which I taught at previously at the Rutgers master's program.
Keith, you're the newest to this. You touched a little on it about what makes Montclair State unique because of the production aspect. But how do you feel that the programs you're teaching kind of fit within that larger space? And do you have thoughts as to where you'd like to see the program evolve and how it can evolve given the brand positioning, if you will, of Montclair State University?
Yeah, and it's not as much Montclair State University as much as this course, sports sponsorship, is within the College of Communication and Media. It's not in the business school. And they're two very separate entities. I know that because I'm actually working with the business school to try to bridge some gaps between business and media. So while sports is a subset of media, and right now, obviously sports dominates media because of the revenue and just the big money that sports represents in media and the huge amount of eyeballs it brings to and makes mainstream traditional legacy media still viable. That basically is what it is. So, and that's the visibility they have. But it's amazing that what they see and don't see. So from my perspective, again, I evaluate who I'm dealing with and what their interest level is. And if they have their heart set on being the cameraman or the production person, again, if they know nothing more when they walk out the door of my class that, okay, this is how I get paid, I'm going to play nice with those guys, that's great. If I could find a few who say, I didn't know what I wanted to be, I just wanted to have sports on my business card that doesn't exist anymore, or something with sports in my title, or be around sports because I like it or something and I don't know what else to do, then if I open their eyes and say, maybe sales and marketing, maybe something on the business side, there's open their eyes to so many options out there. And then if they want to attach themselves to me, that's what I'm there for. That's what I want them to do, and get comfortable with tapping into the resources that possibly I can bring in. Some of the people I know, like the people here in this podcast, have been generously offered as I've asked for favors that I don't that no one owes me, but I'm not shy about doing that. And so exposing them to the business side. And for everyone else, they can just wave at the sponsor as they go by and make sure that they get their, 15 seconds on air in their logo jacket. But for the few, I'm just looking to get a few out there that are saying, now I found what I want to do in sports. And maybe this guy and some of the people he knows can help me do that because I have no connections. So let's start from there and get them interested that way.
I want to go back to asking each one of you for your take on this particular question. How important is it to manage students' expectations as they come into your program and work their way through? Andy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's a huge part of this, right? Because sports and when Mary touched on, everyone wants to be a GM and where they're going and how quickly they're going to get there. And what I focus on the most, I think, though, right, is what the opportunities are, right? That and everybody's kind of touches one way. There's a lot of different ways to go, right? And lots of times I heard I didn't know anything about that, right? Or speaker, I didn't even know, that was a career. So that's one part of it. Two part of it is that, we're in the business school. You're going to make less money out of the box, than you are in most finance jobs, right? Or something like that. So you have to understand that, but you also have to understand that you're in school, to follow a passion in many ways, right? If you want to go make more money, go do that, right? But if you're doing this, you have to understand where it goes. And oftentimes, even like in this past year, I had a couple students with, starter sales programs, which are killer and great experience. And then, maybe the parents find out what they're paying you, and you have to figure out, okay, yeah, you got to be ready to do that, understand that. So it's expectation from a few different perspectives.
I've got a daughter who was an art history major, so we're all about salary expectations in this house. Mary?
I agree with everything Andy said. I feel like I am both the hype woman and then also the reality check, right? That is my role, right? I don't have a very big office, but I wish I had a couch in my office because I think that would be very helpful. But I think it's really about, I say to them, I'm going to give you really real feedback and ways to amend it because you're going to hear it out there, right? If you find I'm not getting an internship, I'm not getting anywhere, well, let's really break it down and why aren't you, right? Sometimes it's how you position yourself, etc. Sometimes it's, you're only going for this one role and you're not, it's like that. I'm going to butcher the old saying or joke or whatever it is, but sometimes you miss what's right in front of you because you have yourself so focused on, I want to work at the NBA. I say, how about we broaden that to basketball? And how about we broaden that to what role actually do you want? And where can we find that role somewhere else? Because as we all know, there is no linear career path, right? And so I think the expectation is really about opening themselves up to see what's in front of them and to not sort of miss what could be right there. Oh, well, I had that opportunity, but that wasn't what I wanted, so I didn't do it. How do you know that if you didn't do that, who you could meet? I always say that, right? You never know who you're going to meet. You never know where you're going to have a conversation. Even in class with your peers, they could be the ones that help you get a job. So I think that's kind of my message. And in terms of reality check is that be present and be open to take advantage of seek it out and take advantage of everything that comes your way. You never know.
Keith, you have never been anything other than frank and candid with me, so I'm really looking forward to hearing your take on this.
From his time in the search business.
You guys kind of know me for a long time, and I'm all about tough love. Those are the two words that I was thinking about. So, the straight between the eyes, but the truth, being honest. All of us here, all of us have weathered those sports storms, had the highs, lows, and I'm not just talking to going into Final Fours and Super Bowls. They have nothing to do with it. And kind of take that out of the equation and talk to them that this is a job, it's highly competitive, that the advantage I want to give them is being in this room, and then we have 25 or 30 students in this room. So my advantage is I want you to only compete with look left and look right, because outside of this door, you see all those other students sitting around. They're not competing right now. So there's your advantage, but you have to compete in this classroom because someone here is going to work harder than you. Someone here is going to want it more than you. Someone here is going to say today and not tomorrow. So if you all do it today, and if you all stop being a tomorrow kid or whatever that is, because tomorrow never comes. So I'm really straight with them. I'm always honest with them. And I think they know that. And for those who want to be on that journey, I will mentor them. I will help them. And even those who don't, I will be tough with them and say, because you didn't do this, but if you do this, you can get back on track. So again, our program's different. We're not a graduate program. We're not a business program. So, but on the business side, I can help them a little bit. Even on the production and broadcast side, I can help them a little bit. We have a lot of great resources at Montclair State University. We have a facility that's state of the art that can compete with any facility. We're 15 miles from New York City. So I always point out the window, and Mary knows this because she was there for quite a while. I always point, we could see Manhattan from Upper Montclair. And I always say, if you want to get there, you have to show up here. If you really, really want it bad, you have to show up here. And there it is, panoramic, huge, 30-foot wide windows staring at you in the face. So they get that message, and then it's the ball's in their court. We're partners. I'm willing to be their partner. Come on, let's do it. So that's kind of the tough love attitude. And you know, we've had some good successes so far. So early on, I see hope, and I know there will be successes.
I can vouch for that, by the way, from my drive around Montclair area this past weekend. Man, the views of Manhattan are amazing. Mm-hmm. I have a quick story to tell that's tied a little bit with both Andy and Mary to this point. Is when I was substituting for Andy, filling in for him at the NSLC event program at Columbia this summer. It was high school students. And someone came up to me after class with not a hint of, I know it's a long shot, says, I want to be the GM, not of an NBA team, but of the Lakers. He's an LA guy. And I honestly looked at the guy, I'm like, I'm pretty certain you're going to be the GM of the Lakers. I've never seen a kid with so much confidence and like completely knew all the steps he needed to take to possibly get there. So I'm like, I think you got it, man. Which shows I probably have a little work to do on that side of my academic prowess. All right.
David, did you commercial motivating Manning, motivating Peyton or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Because I want to be an NFL quarterback. So that's a niche business, but go for it.
Hey, manifesting is real. I encourage manifesting, just with a touch of reality.
Yeah, but David went too far. He promised the kid was going to get a pony on Christmas too.
All right. Looking at this question a little differently, and we're gonna break it up. Start with Mary on this one, and I don't know where we'll go from there, but we'll see. Okay. Tim researched this. There are apparently over 300 programs out there in the country. When you're talking to somebody and they're wondering if they should pursue this before going into work or maybe breaking up their work experience to go, what is the advice when it comes to pursuing an education, and then with so many programs out there, how to choose that? And I mean, I know that may be tough to offer some brevity in that question, but what would you say? We'll start with you, Mary.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought it was closer to like 500 schools that offered the program now.
Tim's research always isn't that great, but
yeah, what year was that from? Just kidding. There's a lot. There's just the point is.
Wait, it's over 300. So
over
that 500 is over 300.
Is absolutely.
I subscribe to the Price is Right method of estimating. I do not want to go over the actual retail value.
Well, I mean, the point is it's big business, right? And obviously the industry is just at its height, I think. And so schools are smart to offer this and in different, programs, et cetera. I mean, not all jobs do you need a master's and an MBA for, right? Let's just be honest, right? So I think that it comes down very much to an individual and what sort of is their current status and what are they looking for. So for instance, we have, I'll just use kind of our sampling here. We have students whose undergrad was not sports management and have, come to us from finance or econ or, you name it, all across the board, and, have sort of realized they want to be in sports, right? They've come to that aha moment, if you will. And so this schooling provides them, or any school for that matter, provides them with that much needed education and awareness and experience, right? Then we have some students who were undergrad, but just their undergrad perhaps didn't have the breadth of what like Columbia offers, and they just wanted to know more about the sports industry and different ways to go in. So again, everybody's situation is absolutely unique and different. And so I don't think there's a blanket answer I can give on whether grad school or sports management program is like for you or not, because I think it does come down to that. What I think is that certainly the programs we're talking that are represented here, just as a starting point, it's like an incredible advantage. And if you have the time and, let's just say it, the money to be able to do it, I think that it will give you a step ahead, because I think the programs are reputable. But it's not just that. You can't just go around saying, I went to Columbia, I went to DePaul. Yes, there is an absolute impressiveness about that and cachet, but that's not getting you the job. It's about what you do in the program. It's about what you take advantage of in class, out of class, and in the industry. So I think I'm answering your question maybe the best way I know how to. But that's what I would say, I think. And in terms of which program, I think you have to look at sort of multiple factors. And many students that I ask, what brought you to Columbia? How did you get here? Many of them will say they wanted a specific focus area, or they wanted to be in New York as, if you will, the capital of the sports industry. And some people have said, I came because I want to do soccer analytics, and you have the best course on that. I'm just giving you those kind of things. So I think in terms of choosing, it's going to be multiple factors.
Keith, anything you'd like to add on that?
I mean, again, I come from, evaluating needs and wants and where you should go. Now I know if someone comes to me and says, I want to be sports soccer analytics, I'm going to send them to Mary. I'm going to send them to Columbia, because I don't think I would send them. I wouldn't say go to Montclair State for soccer analytics. I mean, we probably have someone who knows that, but again, my first question is, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to get out of that education? Because again, the tough love side of me says, go work for a minor league soccer team, go work for a minor league baseball team, a minor league hockey team, anything. Go work for, if that's what you want, and do every job, because there's 3 people that work there. So you're going to do every job. You're going to sweep up, sell tickets, sell sponsorships, and sell popcorn at halftime. That's just the way it works. And then you'll find out what you want to do, and maybe then go get your education when you can narrow it down to soccer analytics or selling sponsorships, and you think there's a connection out there, that an education and a bit of business knowledge would help you get a step up. Otherwise, work at it at the same time. I'm just a big fan of that, because I'll use a minute more of saying, you both know I've hired hundreds of people in the sports industry, and I've never hired anyone who has a sports MBA, sports management degree. No one's ever asked me, or no clients ever asked me to go find someone that has those degrees, even though there's a lot of them out there, and I'm very well connected with a lot of the schools out there, and the former sports executives who are running these schools and are directors or play a very pivotal roles in these schools. But the fact is, unless you're an alum of Columbia or Montclair State or DePaul, other than that connection, it's not going to get you any closer to the door. Work experience will. Saying I've sold that sponsorship to the local pizzeria and at the minor league park, and here's the promotion I put together, and it generated X plus 3 sales, and I'm going like, you're hired. If you can do that for the local pizzeria and the local minor league team, you could do it for me. Get some track record. So sorry for rambling on.
No, thanks, Keith. Andy?
Yeah, I'm going to echo what I've already said and what everyone else has said, and it really comes down to what I opened with is experience, right? And that's what everyone said in one way or another. When you're looking at different programs, and people ask me that, and the program Dave touched on earlier when you talk to high school students, wherever you go, there's a lot of great programs, a lot of great schools, and it's got to fit where you're at. Find where you're going to have access, right? Well, are you reading from a book? No. You're doing projects, the projects, Mary and Keith talked about, or we're doing with Chicago Sky or the Chicago Bulls or Chicago Marathon or different agencies, and really getting in and doing the work, right? Whether it be in the classroom, outside the classroom, the more experience you get across the board, that's what we're here for, right? People don't care. People there that you show up on time. And I'm going to quote, and maybe I'll wrap here. To quote the great Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental, right? Do that, be open, and you'll do well.
I just want to say one more thing, because I meant to say this. And maybe it's just adding on to that. I think nowadays, like, again, I'll speak from a Columbia standpoint. I think school is experience. So based on the way projects and visits, those are resume builders, right? And so I just think, perhaps it at one point was school, right? And you learned out of a book, and you maybe did some things. Now the way that, it's all of us are doing classes, it's about bringing the in school to have the experience. And I think that's the difference too. And that's why we find a lot of students want to continue their education or go into this, because, and I say, put all that on your resume. That's work. You worked for a client. Yes, it was under a Columbia professor and a research project that you still did the work. So I guess just to kind of put a fine point on that, I think that's where, education these days and the way that many schools are approaching it has changed and is of great value.
Last question before we let you guys go, and Mary, I'll start with you. Irrespective of whether somebody is in your program or is even pursuing a sports management education, what's one piece of advice you would give to a young person looking to break into the sports business?
Well, we get this every day, right? My overall thing is get after it. Just get after it, right? If you're on it, if you're the early bird, if you are, I like to say they have 4 classes a semester, make getting into the industry your 5th class. Approach it the same way that you would a class in terms of being organized every week, doing something, moving the ball forward. I think that's my overall thing. And, under that would be take advantage of every opportunity, be curious, be present, and be open.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, I'll reference a terrific speaker I have in my leadership class each spring, Carolyn Joyce, who's a 3-time Olympian, 4-time Olympic silver medalist swimmer, and now is a sponsorship sales director for LA 28. And a great quote that I actually put up on a slide yesterday. That's why I'm thinking of it. And something she said, the hard work you do now is opening doors you cannot see.
Wow. I love Carolyn Joyce. She's such a wonderful person.
So not agree more.
Keith, we'll give you the last word then.
Yeah, I've said it already, and I won't belabor it, but I think that the first job you get, the more you get to do, the better experience you'll have. Learning by doing, that's what we're all about at Montclair State, and I believe that should be what you should do when you get those entry-level jobs. Learn by doing and be open to doing anything. And when someone says, "Oh, I can't sell," or "I don't want to sell," let's do it. You're selling every day. You're selling yourself. You're selling going to your favorite restaurant. You're selling going to your favorite movie. So you can sell. Everybody can, and everybody can, do every job. You really can. So find that opportunity, and you'll be so much more hireable and marketable in the future if you have that experience. The hiring manager will just, I know, will be so impressed that you rolled up your sleeves and did it. And to Mary's point, do it every day. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it now. Do it now.
Thank you all for that. I do want to give each of you a chance to offer anything to any students or people that may be thinking about going to programs, to how to find out more about the programs that you're involved with. Andy, start with you.
I mean, the first, check out, go to the DePaul Sports Business Network on LinkedIn. A lot of great stories, student success stories and projects and things, great stuff. And just more officially, go to, DePaul.edu, sports business, and more.
Great. Thank you. Mary?
Same for Columbia Sports. We do a lot of information sessions for prospective students, and I think those are a wonderful way to, online and in person, a wonderful way to learn about the program. And then, of course, also on our LinkedIn and website as well.
Keith?
Yeah, for Montclair State, we have a great, as I said, on the broadcast production side, Red Hawk Sports Network, some real professionals who've been there, done that for all the networks, all the top sports networks. I'd say come to a basketball game, come to a football game, and watch what they do, and then talk to the students who are doing it, and the faculty advisors. They'll talk to you. They'll give you, they'll show you around. They'll take care of you. They're very inclusive. They really would love to see you. And I don't know if anyone does that, but I think the best experience is come to an event and watch. Well, I don't care if it's volleyball or what the event is. They're there and they're broadcasting it, and talk to them and see if that's something you'd like to do. And we'll let you in. We'll let you in.
Well, thank you all. We're actually looking forward to visiting with you, Keith, on Friday. So there's that. This has been an unbelievable discussion. We think it's important to take this on every once in a while. This is the second time we've done this. And Andy, Mary, Keith, just really, really love all the input and the perspective that you brought. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Appreciate you tackling this topic. I think it's super timely and a good one to share with your audience.
We are back, and thank you again to Andy Clark of DePaul University, Mary Scott of Columbia University, one of my alma maters, and Keith Cutler from Montclair State University. What a great discussion, and what three really great perspectives on a sports management education. So, David, now is the time in the show where we take a look forward, and I would love to hear what's on your mind.
There's a couple things that I wanted to touch on here in this closing segment. First is a correction. Last week I talked about the Commanders' new stadium and how it was going to be asking for a huge public investment, which it is, by the way. But I felt like it came across as though I was saying it was entirely publicly funded, and it's not true. It is about 68% privately funded, which isn't 100%, so it's still quite a bit of public funding, but a significant amount. I just wanted to clear that up. Secondly, a shout out to the recent class, the 11th year of the Game Changers for SBJ. But one of the things so they've been doing this, and credit to Sports Business Journal for highlighting women in the business that are making a difference. Their alum of this program is quite significant, and we've had quite a few of them actually on our podcast, and I'm honored by that. 𝘚𝘵𝗽𝘪𝘻, Julie Giese, Vanessa Tavares, Renee Anderson, Jessica Gelman, Kathy Engelbert. May have missed some there, but those are all game changers. We're proud of the guests that we have, and proud of all the women that are making a difference in this field. The one thing that I have my eye on is that one of the big stars of the WNBA, Napheesa Collier, the great star of the Minnesota Lynx, went full out on the league and Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, the aforementioned Kathy Engelbert, about the lack of leadership coming on. And I think this just sets kind of the laying it down as it relates to the CBA negotiation going on between the Players Association and the league right now. It was brutal. I mean, it was brutal, like talking specifically about a conversation. I don't know the veracity of that, of what she said, but she read a statement that very specifically mentioned things that Cathy Engelbert had said about Caitlin Clark, and that she should be thankful for the platform that the WNBA has given her to make the money that she's making, even though Caitlin Clark came into the league with all kinds of deals in place. Anyway, it wasn't pretty. 𝘚𝘱𝑗𝘰𝘳𝑗𝑚𝑒 Collier is one of the leaders of the WNBA players. She's a star. She is, and it seems like she's going to be one of the main voices, and this will be interesting to see, how the league deals with this, if that gets them even tougher in their stance. But this isn't going to be an easy one, in my opinion, for Cathy Engelbert to survive, if I'm kind of looking at it. So would love to get your take on that as you go through your stuff.
That was my immediate thought. Does she survive this? The takedown was absolutely brutal, and I'm paraphrasing here, but her comments when told of what 𝘚𝘱𝑗𝘰𝘳𝑗𝑚𝑒 Collier said was, "I'm sorry she characterized our conversation that way." She did not dispute anything that 𝘚𝘱𝑗𝘰𝘳𝑗𝑚𝑒 Collier said. But I do, and you mentioned the fact that Collier is a vice president of the union. However, Collier is also one of the founders of Unrivaled, and we have had this conversation before. This is, I would say, a quintessential apparent conflict of interest, meaning who benefits in the immediate term if there is a work stoppage in the WNBA, and certainly the Unrivaled does. So I'm not questioning what was said in that conversation. I have no idea. I am not questioning 𝘚𝘱𝑗𝘰𝘳𝑗𝑚𝑒 Collier's motives or motivation in making those comments. I have no idea what was in her mind. I am simply pointing out the fact that she is a co-founder of Unrivaled, and Unrivaled would undoubtedly benefit from a work stoppage in the WNBA, which I think is much more likely now, and I thought it was highly likely before these comments.
You did.
I believe they have not done anything to turn down the temperature of the discussions between ownership and the rank and file.
Which is why we need to keep our eye on this. I mean, this just gets more interesting every day.
Oh boy, does it ever! Listen, we have had a great show. There's a lot of stuff there, so why don't we end it here? Thank you again to our guests. Thank you, David. Most of all, thank you to our listeners. You can find us on what's our website?
DP and McGee.
DP and McGee. I get second billing no matter what. dpandmcgee.com. This will be up, as all of our episodes are, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the East Coast. Until next week, he's DP, I'm McGee, and we'll talk soon.